What's up? Kyle O'Brien, somebody's favorite condescending jerk. So, today I want to talk about something real briefly. I actually did this video yesterday when it was a little bit more topical and current, but it was too long. I'm trying to make these videos shorter, so I'm doing it again, shorter this time. But, yesterday something came to my attention, and I think that it started yesterday. It could have potentially started the day before, and I just didn't hear about it, but that would be odd because it was Sunday. Usually there's not a lot of big things that happen on Sundays. Businesses don't typically make big announcements on Sundays, so I'm fairly confident that this only dates back to yesterday. But I saw a couple of things, and at first I didn't pay much attention to them because they were like on the Bing MSN homepage, and most of the things that pop up on there are like nonsense clickbait articles, because it's quite frankly a horrible service. People wonder why Google is so successful, by the way. It's because all of their competition is utter garbage. But anyway, I kept seeing these things pop up, and finally, I decided to look into it when it was like the third or so YouTube video that I had seen referencing it. And this is around, honestly I didn't believe this is true, and I'm going to get into in a second why, because it's completely nonsensical. But apparently there are major companies boycotting the NRA. Now understand something. I have tried to move this channel away from trying to politically influence people in discussion. That's not what this is about, okay? What I want to explain to you is why, if you are pro-gun control, these big companies boycotting the NRA is incredibly stupid, and you shouldn't particularly be happy about it either. And as a matter of fact, the people who really should be least happy about it is anybody who owns stock in these companies. And again, I'm going to get into all this, so let's just go ahead and start. First off, at first, I was kind of thinking that maybe this was like a misnomer. Maybe they don't mean boycott. Maybe they're just using that word to try and, make a point or something. But it doesn't seem to be the case. I can't see anything that says that, oh, it's not actually a boycott, we just don't have a better word for it. It seems like they're legitimately trying to call for a boycott. Okay, let me explain to you why that makes no sense. The NRA does not make its money from selling a good or service. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of its money, almost all of it, comes from donations from people who support them. So let me explain to you, if you don't get it already, why a company that is not reliant on consumers purchasing a good or service from them cannot particularly be harmed by a boycott. A boycott is essentially a refusal on some grounds by a large number of people to stop purchasing goods and services from a particular entity. Okay? And in the case of a political boycott, the people boycotting these companies obviously are invariably the people who are politically opposed to them and their beliefs. The NRA, I will say again, thrives and is run off donations from supporters. Okay? They're the only people whose money matters to the NRA. People who already oppose the NRA don't matter to them. Okay? They don't, because they're not giving them money to begin with. Okay? It's not like somebody could be like, oh, well, I used to go to Chick-fil-A until I found out that they said some anti-gay marriage things, and now I don't go to Chick-fil-A anymore, and I want to stop other people from going to Chick-fil-A. Okay? It's not like that. You're already not giving money to the NRA to begin with, so you're not doing anything by boycotting them. But here's what will happen. Whether widespread or only in small pockets and groups, people who do politically align with the NRA will stop and do have a counter boycott. As a matter of fact, one of the first things that I saw regarding this story was a call for a counter boycott against the companies who are calling for the initial boycott. Now, I couldn't be damned to actually try and remember or care about what all of the companies who are part of this boycott are. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But for the sake of example, one of them that's stuck in my mind is Delta Airlines. Now, unlike the NRA, Delta Airlines is a business, and they do make their income predominantly by selling a service, which obviously is transportation in the case of Delta. Now, here's the thing. There are legitimately going to be people who do not use Delta Airlines now as a result of this. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's going to be enough people that will actually matter, but considering the net effect that you're having on your opponent, in this case the NRA, is zero, any lost business for you results in a net loss on your behalf as far as the overall effects of this endeavor. So since NRA stands to lose nothing to begin with, you cannot possibly win in this way. But let's say for a second that you could. Let's say for a second that you somehow could shut down the NRA. Let me explain to you why that is something that, if you're pro-gun control, you really don't want to see happen. So let me start off by saying that I get why people who are pro-gun control don't like the NRA. They are extremely vocal, and they are very influential and do have a lot of lobbying power. And they do use that lobbying power to try and, amongst many other things, which we're going to touch on in a second, shut down proposed legislation that would increase controls on guns, most of the time. For example, one thing that they have not opposed is the bump stock ban, because that's something that shouldn't be opposed. The bump stock is a strange loophole in the American law which says that you are not allowed to, under almost any circumstances, own fully automatic weapons, and a bump stock is essentially just a bypass for that, so it should be illegal. But my point is that I get why people don't like the NRA, alright? But here's what you need to get. Not everything is just surface level. There are facets to things, and there are nuances to things. And, you know, when something on the surface goes away, that doesn't mean that the things underneath it, holding it up, also go away. And here's what I mean by that. Getting rid of the NRA does not get rid of the lawmakers, the congressmen, the senators, the governors, the members of the state legislatures who are already opposed to gun control. What it also doesn't do is get rid of the people who vote them into office. And these are the things that would have to be done away with in order for gun control laws to be passed. Not the NRA. The NRA is not a lawmaking entity. They are the public face of the Second Amendment movement that you don't like, but they're not the real power behind it, if you understand my meaning. And the reason this is important is because let's think about what would actually occur if the NRA went away. Because like I said, the voters are not going anywhere, the lawmakers are not going anywhere. More importantly, the donors are not going anywhere. They are going to continue to put their money into interests and groups with lobbying power that are opposed to gun control laws. Now, there are other such lobbying groups out there. None of them are as big as the NRA, and there are reasons for that. First off, a lot of these groups have ties to other things, have other causes and other beliefs that are troubling even for people like me, who do not support increasing gun control measures. Some of them have ties to white power groups. Some of them have ties to kind of a little bit fractious, sort of anti-government types of groups. Not all of them. Some of them are perfectly legitimate and on the up and up. But a lot of them aren't, because they don't have the exposure that the NRA has, and so they are not as much under the magnifying glass of public scrutiny. Furthermore, and likely as a result of not being under the same amount of public scrutiny as the NRA, most, if not all of these companies have also not adopted a certain initiative that the NRA is very heavily involved in. That being safe gun possession and safe gun ownership education. Classes about how to safely handle and store firearms, how to keep them out of the hands of children, how to, clean them without shooting yourself or an innocent bystander, how to safely use them at the range without accidentally flagging, again, an innocent bystander and having an accidental negligent discharge. These types of classes are heavily sponsored and promoted by the NRA, and they are not heavily sponsored and promoted by most other pro-gun lobbies, pro-Second Amendment lobbies. So if we do away with the NRA, forcing the donors, the backers who want to put their money into opposing stricter gun control regulations into these other groups, the one thing that one of the two things that we are almost instantaneously getting rid of on a massive scale is safe gun handling education. Which, I think that even if you're the most anti-gun person in the world, okay, even if you think that all guns in the world should be banned and anybody who likes guns should be strung up by their entrails, okay, certainly, even you have the intelligence to realize that being as that we do live in a world that does have guns and that people do own these guns, it's much better to have the people who own these guns properly educated in how to safely store and handle them. Properly educated on how to keep them in such a way that small children will not get access to them. Properly educated in how to carry and utilize that weapon in such a way that it is only ever fired in a situation that is a dire emergency. Certainly, you realize that that is better than the alternative, which realistically the alternative is those same people having the guns and not the education. And one of you worthless pieces of human garbage, because anybody who thinks this, believe me, you are a worthless piece of human garbage to wish this kind of thing on other people. But one of you out there watching this video, I'm sure, is thinking to yourself, I don't care, I hope all the gun owners shoot themselves. I hope all their children shoot themselves. Your opinion doesn't matter, okay? You're the type of noxious, vitriolic, hateful person who does nothing but hinder amicable discussion between opposing opinions here in this country and in the world as a whole. And I personally don't give a crap what your opinion is. As a matter of fact, I hope that if you are that person, you dislike this video, you dislike me, and you leave a nasty comment about just how much you hate me. Because knowing that you hate me will make me feel better about myself, because I want nothing to do with you. For the rest of you, I hope that even if you don't necessarily agree with me, even if you still hold out hope or want to believe that boycotting the NRA will somehow magically produce these gun control measures that, you've been wanting for years now, I hope you have at least received the benefit of getting another look at things and kind of thinking about things from a different angle, a different perspective. Because again, and I've tried to make this clear throughout this video, my point here in saying this is not to try and convince you that you should oppose gun control. That's not the discussion that we're having here today. I would bring up entirely different points and topics and statistics were that the case. What I am trying to point out to you is solely that even, especially, if you do support gun control measures and believe that there should be stricter gun control measures, boycotting the NRA is a horrible way to go about it. And best case scenario, it's a net zero. Worst case scenario, it does far more harm to your cause than good. So with that all being said, now is the time for anybody who was upset or had their feelings hurt by anything that I said in this video to make sure, again, that you dislike and leave a hate comment, because those kind of things really make my day. For the rest of you, I hope that you'll stick around and like the video. Let me know what you think about what I said here. Let me know if you have a different opinion, if you think that I overlooked something or that I misinterpreted something. And subscribe if you want to watch me rant about other crap like this. I don't know, I not that long ago got rid of about 250 videos off this channel that I just wasn't that fond of anymore. But there's still a fairly decent back catalog here of other older content for you to watch. So have a great night and peace.